Right, hello and welcome guys once again to this amazing series where we're going to be talking specifically concerning the smart money concept. We're simply going to be talking much more about retail trading strategies as well, just to compare the retail trading strategies and the smart money concepts. So you realize that the smart money concept is simply one concept that is under institutional ways of trading. So we're going to talk about further institutional ways of trading as well, as we go on like that. So you begin to realize that starting from the monthly time frame, I'm simply going to show you the fundamentals, the basic fundamentals of smart money concept. So the basic fundamentals of smart money concept is supply and demand. It's the concept of supply and demand. So I'm going to start to illustrate the concept of supply and demand. So in this series, in this first segment, I'm simply going to talk about supply and demand. Supply and demand. What is a supply zone? What is a demand zone? For example, this area here, this is a demand zone. Why am I saying it's a demand zone? It is from this zone that we saw the market push and gave a very impulsive bullish move, meaning somewhere from this zone, that is where the buyers kicked in, the institutional buyers, that is when they kicked in on this zone here. That is why we call it a demand zone. So a demand zone is usually resembled by this last bearish candle after, before the impulsive bullish move. This last bearish candle is what you call the demand zone, and then at the top, that's where we find the supply zone. So right now, currently looking at this market, just looking from this perspective of demand and supply, you can see that it still has room. US 30 still has room to come and touch the demand zone before maybe going up. So it still has room to go down. So I'll go down to a lower time frame just to emphasize and make sure that we back test as well if ever there's any need of back test, so that you see the concept of demand and supply and demand. So from let me just start from let me start from right so let me start from the past. Let me start from the past so that you see. So I would like to do a replay, let me start from, let me start from 2020. I would like to start my back test there. 2020, right, this is 2020, and US 30 was actually bullish, moving at a moving in a bullish momentum. So how do you identify supply and demand on this market here, starting from 2020? So if you realize here, as it was pushing up, the first zone that I can look at, this demand zone here, this is a demand zone here. Why am I calling it demand zone? That is where impulsive buyers came in there, came back to retest the demand zone, went all the way up, all the way all the way up. So the demand zone was broken, retested, went all the way up. Then at the top there, you find that we also had a supply zone, which was somewhere around this area. So this supply zone, the market came and tapped into the supply, crashed, cra- crashed. So basically, it was respecting that supply, but obviously due to what you call this, due to bullish momentum, it never lasted that long. So the market established this level of demand again as it was moving. It established this level of demand as well. This was a demand zone that the market created. Demand zone, due to this impulsive buyers that kicked in, came back to the demand zone. So what we do, demand and supply, this is the whole fundamental foundational concept when it comes to the smart money concept. So you realize that on this demand zone, that is where we're supposed to start buying. Demand zone, we enter, our TP is always found either at the top, supply zone at the top. which was around this area. So if you check, as soon as it reached the supply zone, what happened? The market came all the way down, somewhere close to this other demand zone here. So the market can actually move in that way of demand and supply, supply and demand, in that way, and you can actually take your trades based on that concept of supply and demand. So here on the demand you would have bought, on the supply you would have sold, back to this demand, new demand, new demand, you buy. Then this broken supply, this broken supply is what we call, this is the concept that we call supply and demand flip, S&D flip, S&D flip, whereby a supply is no longer a supply, but it has actually been flipped and is now acting as a demand zone. That is what always happens in the market. Whenever you see a supply, that was a supply area being broken like this, it's what we call an SD flip. It's an SD flip. Once that supply has been broken, you expect it to be retested as a demand now. Like what happened? Demand tested, then went all the way up. All the way up. So right now this is January 2020 and the market is going up. We want to see how we can use the concept of supply and demand to make sure that we get entries on our US30. So let me just scale down to the daily. Maybe I can also get some good information there that can guide me. Right, so I'm on the daily time frame. So if you look at the market, this is the S&D flip. As I spoke, the market pushed, came back to the S&D flip. So from the S&D flip, now you'll realize that the market pushed all the way up, leaving this demand zone behind. Leaving this demand zone behind, we actually have two different scenarios. Either the market is going to come back to this demand zone and continue going up. Let's just see how the market is going to evolve. Let's see how the market is going to evolve. Let's see how the market evolved. Right, let me stop there. As this market is moving, you can actually see that it left a zone of supply here at the top there. Supply zone was left there at the top, meaning on the supply zone, that's where we'll say sell. On the demand zone, we buy. Then when you have an S&D flip scenario like this, you actually follow the direction that you would have been given. So let's go. Right, the market has tapped back into this supply level. Supply area has been tapped again. Let's see what the market is going to do. Right, wonderful. So as you can see, supply zone, market tree supply zone faked out, then came back inside. Most probably here one could have taken sell positions. I'm actually expecting that one could have taken sell positions all the way to the demand zone, which is that area here. Let's see how price evolved, but that is a scenario that one could have expected, because that supply is still holding, is still holding. Right, exactly as we were expecting, exactly as we were expecting. If you check here, it manipulated and it was faking out from this supply zone, but in as much as it faked out, it came back inside the zone. Our first target was this demand zone. Next target is always the next demand zone, which in this case here, it was around this. Okay, let me remove this one. Around this zone here, around this zone here, this is on the daily time frame. Around this zone, this was the second demand from this demand that we're expecting price to bounce off of. So meaning for 1 to 3, almost 3.5 days, one could have actually made money on strong sales simply using the concept of supply and demand. So right now I'm looking at this demand zone, let's just play and see what happened. Boom, TP has been hit. TP has been hit. The market tapped into our demand zone, which was TP4, the sales that we would have taken from the supply zone at the top there, TP1, TP2, this demand zone. So you can actually use the concept of supply and demand as well as for your entries and as well as your exits. So if you check from this demand zone, as I said, from a demand zone, that is where buyers are found. Institutional buyers, you find them on demand zones. So on the demand zone, if you check, price actually bounced on the demand zone and started buying so crazily from that demand zone, right? So from this demand zone, our TP now is this S&D flip here. S&D flip was our TP for the the buys that one could have taken. The buys that one could have taken is TP is the S&D flip. So buying here 1 2 3, almost 3 days of holding, you could have reached your TP here on that level there, because it's now acting as well as a supply. This zone, it's now acting as a supply. So once the supply is broken and retested, that's a selling moment as well. So this buy, you could have gotten in this sell, you could have also gotten it based on this supply. So S&D flip that happened here. Playing further, right? So what I like about this concept that I'm talking to you guys about is you can actually make a lot of money just applying this one simple concept. So from here, as I said, this is a demand zone. Once a demand zone has been broken and retested like this, you sell. Broken here, retested again, you sell. That was a selling opportunity. Your target, you're looking at the next demand zone, which was around this area here. That was the next demand zone around that area. One could have taken their profit on that demand zone here. Let's play and see what the market did. So the market continued going down, going down, going down, came back, going down, going down, going down. So interesting, 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 interesting. Right. So as I said, sales here, your TP on the demand zone. After that, you wait for the market to form and see how it's going to move and react. So already now you can see that there's a shift in market structure, but we now have higher highs, higher lows, meaning we're going to look for more demand zones than supply zones. So demand zones in this case, we have this one already that has been broken. We can also look at this zone here, because when we are bullish, when the market is in a bullish market structure, you always need to look for more demands more than supplies, because you want to be found on the side of market structure. The market just broke it broke now our supply zone. It broke the supply zone. So meaning if ever it didn't come to your zone here, you're never going to buy on that zone. You're simply going to wait for something like a break of this supply zone there. Then once it's broken and retested like that, that was a buying moment. That was a buying opportunity. First target is this zone. As I marked it, target was reached. So one could have bought immediately after the break and retest here of this supply zone. Bought 1 2 3 4 5, almost 5 days of holding buys. Then you come out there on that level. Once you come out there, you're expecting a break and retest. If ever it retested, you're still going to continue entering and targeting the next supply at the top there as a target. Right. So the market came back, continued coming back to this demand zone now. Those were simply entry opportunities for you. Those were simply buying opportunities for you. Because we're in a bullish market structure, we always need to be found on the side of the overall market structure. Meaning we're only interested, I was only going to be interested in buys. Broken, S&D flip has been broken. Once it has been broken, we spoke about this thing, it has to be retested. Once it's retested, that was an entry. That's an entry for us. Once it's retested, it's an entry for us. It's an entry for us. So here, one could have also maybe entered these buys here. Those buys one could have entered or waited for this retest, then take more buys as well. Right, so buys here could have taken, then break on top again and retest. Those are buying opportunities you bought there. You're now looking forward to around this level here as a target. You're looking for this level here as a target. Right. So it seems it never reached all the way there, but actually respected this supply zone here. Supply zone there. So you could have actually stopped even at this supply zone. You would have actually came out. Then we continue. Right. As the market is moving, you can actually see that all our supply zones at the top there were broken. And when your supply zone is broken like that, what you do, you actually wait for a rejection. Once you get the rejection, you simply buy. But let's see. Let's see how it went. All right, already it's back on top of our supply zone. On top of our supply zone, it's still playing around on top of our supply zone. We would have caught in some buys there. We could have caught some buys there. We could have caught some buys. We could have caught some buys. We could have caught some buys then. We could have caught some buys. Good, beautiful buys there. As you can see, we would have caught some beautiful buys from this demand zone. Beautiful buys, beautiful buys, beautiful buys. One could have actually caught beautiful buys. Beautiful buys, beautiful buys. Right, came back to around the level and continued buying, which was good for us. We could have taken the buys further. We could have taken the buys further as well. So supply and demand is always the foundation of the smart money concept. That's the major foundation. We always need to make sure that our supplies and our demands, they are marked, and so let me just remove all these other ones. For example, here you can actually see that this is acting as a level of demand. The market is going up. What we need is to be buying from such demand zones like that. You buy from demand zones, then we continue. If ever it continues going up, so long market structure is still bullish, you just make sure that demand zones are your point of interest, points that you're interested in. Two, look what happened here. Somebody look at what happened here. Demand zone, I marked the demand zone. Market came to my demand zone. Check what happened. Bounced on the demand zone. 1 2 3, almost 4 days of holding buys. Almost 4 days of holding buys. And imagine how much money that is when it comes. Check now, check now. Continued going, continued going. So what you do now, so long market structure is maintained, so long we're still in a bullish market structure, I continue marking my demand zones. Those are my areas that I'm interested in. If ever they are broken, I'll simply know what to do. I won't take buys, rather I'll actually take sales based on the concept of supply and demand flip. So guys, this is something that is real. It's something, so here you realize that it responded here to this area here. That's also a mini level of demand here that has also respected, broken, retested, continued going. That is money, guys. That is money. That is money. So yeah, I'm simply trying to show you that you can actually trade and make money just by applying this concept of supply and demand. One can actually make a lot of money on the market, whichever instrument you decide to focus on. So check now, the buys, they continued all the way, and they're still continuing. I also mark this level of demand zone there, demand zone. Let's see what's going to happen. Demand zone there. So supply and demand, guys, it works so much, so much. Supply and demand, it works so much. What you simply need to do is to make sure that you are actually knowing the market structure is very key. You realize as we move on to later episodes of this smart money concept series, you realize that knowing market structure is always the fundamental basic knowledge that you need to know when it comes to the smart money concept. Once you understand market structure, is the market bullish or bearish, is the market uptrending or downtrending, once you know all that, you actually realize that on your demand zones, we are uptrending, you're interested in your demand zones. When we are downtrending, you're interested in your zones of supply for your entries. So guys, just for now, this is just the few things that I can explain to you concerning supply and demand. If you have any questions, kindly share your question with us in the comment section. Make sure that you've liked, make sure that you share the video, and make sure that you comment on the video as well. Subscribe to the channel and make sure that we are moving together and earning money together, as we are going to be delivering with you wonderful information, institutional trading methods, retail trading strategies, all of them combined. They will make you a better trader, a better top 1% trader than all the traders in the world. So make sure that you're subscribed, you like the video, share the video. Let's earn and learn together as usual.